Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Float, Odyssey, Telegram, Twitch, and the Prepper Broadcast Network. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim, and today is September 9th, 2022, and this is episode 166 of the Workshop Podcast. So guys, I just finished an incredible interview with Survivor Jane. It was awesome. I cannot wait for you to jump into it and hear about it. After we got talking, I decided to title this episode From Makeup to Manure. Survivor Jane talks about homesteading and all of its challenges, especially when it pertains to women. So I hope you enjoy this. Real quick, let's get the announcements out of the way. First off, tomorrow is the last day for Prepper Camp. So if you haven't bought your tickets yet and you want to get to Prepper Camp, you got to buy your tickets by tomorrow at midnight. No tickets at the door. Go to preppercamp.com. That link will be in the description. And I'm also going to be there, Self-Reliance Festival. That's in Camden, Tennessee, the weekend after. Tickets are still on sale for that. I've got a link in the description if you're thinking about going. I don't know if they're going to cap the tickets at some point, but I know that place is going to be full. So please show up. I will be there. I'll give you all the time in the world. We'll sit down, chat. That's all I want to do is go and talk and teach and learn and just have a great time. So finally, today's tool is the Dewalt Oscillating Multitool. Used that yesterday installing windows. There is nothing better for cutting off the shims that you use to install windows or the beautiful overflow of spray foam. It works perfect for both of those. If you're looking for a way to support the workshop and you're looking for a tool like that, links in the description. Anything you pick up will help to support the workshop and the work that I do. So guys, without further ado, let's jump right into the interview I just finished with Survivor Jane. Howdy workshop folks, we are back with another live interview. This is a special day and time. I'm really excited. We've got Survivor Jane on with us today. How are you, Jane?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you.
Good. How's the weather been in North Carolina?
You know what? It's been rainy, but we're blessed with it because we were having a dry spout there.
Is it, you got nothing special coming up anytime soon out that way, do you?
You mean as far as rain or snow or sleet or
any big events coming up? Nothing real special going on at all?
You know, nothing except for the 2022 Prepper Camp, if that's what you're calling it.
Yeah, it's just a tiny little thing, isn't it?
You know what? It's great.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. I got thinking, I believe this is a first for the workshop. It's the first time I've had a husband and a wife come on the show separately, which was great. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And so let's start out with, who is Survivor Jane? Where'd you come from, your background? And I always ask this. I love to find out, what was your first job in high school?
Oh my gosh.
Or even before high school. I'll take you way back.
Okay. You know what? It's going to go right in line with your missus. I worked at a daycare.
Did you? What did you do there?
Well, you know what? It was back in the horse and buggy days where there weren't any type of plastic diapers and whatever. So when the baby pootied, it pootied, and you took it and put it in the toilet and flushed the toilet and kind of hung on to the cotton, so that's where I learned that I like animals more than kids,
I totally get it. It's why I have dogs. My kids are all grown. So.
Oh goodness, just joking.
No, that's okay. And where did you grow up in Florida as well?
You know what? I did. And I was a city girl, and I was a corporate city girl. So my focus was shopping and sales and fashion and magazines and girly stuff and anything and everything, all things glitter. I mean, that was my focus. I worked really, really hard, but I shopped really, really, really harder.
So and that's rather interesting. So how does that become part of what you do now, preparedness and homesteading, where did that switch come
Well,
up?
that is called Rick Austin. Rick has
Oh.
been a prepper from day one. You know, he was a Boy Scout. He was he was a helicopter pilot, so he knew about weather. I mean, he was all thing man, and I was all thing girl. And it wasn't until I had a really, really bad experience. In 2000, around the 7-8 time, where I worked in a corporate office on the 7th floor, and there was a 6-story parking garage attached to that. And one beautiful sunny day, as I was exiting out of that parking garage, I was carjacked by 2 armed men that had just pistol whipped somebody at an ATM machine. So, you know, being surrounded by a bunch of police officers, that thankfully it didn't take them long to come, and, you know, I was okay. I wasn't injured. But Tim, that took my happy place. It just burst that bubble. I was always suspicious. I was always paranoid. I couldn't just be in that happy, go world that I used to be. Then, coupled with that, my 401k was tanking. I mean, it was like I was losing almost $7,000 a month. That was 2008.
Yep.
And I was actually putting more into so that I could live the lifestyle that I wanted to, you know, once I retired. So, I mean, I'm putting it away, and it was just sliding. It was like I could never recoup that money. And so I went into HR and I said, "Hey," I said, "I got to stop this slide. You know, what do? I need to take my money out, and I need to take it out now." Well, they were a self-insured large company, and they said, "There's 2 ways. You can quit or you can die." And so I molded a little bit. I mean, quit, die, quit. So I decided to walk away. So I left a corporate job. Then, on top of that, if that was too weren't enough, then the housing market was crashing. And our beautiful gated community home was turning into a multi-family. Every house had at least 4 or 5 cars parked up into the grass. Now, this was the type of neighborhood you couldn't even have your car out in the drive. You had to have it pulled into the garage and the garage shut. It had to be manicured. I had a lawn service for the front and a lawn service for the back. I mean, it was like so strict, but we were making the money to do that. You know, so it was okay. But all of a sudden, because of all this, crime started going up and up and up, and helicopters were circling around 2 and 3 times a week with those big old searchlights. When they literally will shine up the whole street when they shine those lights down. And I said, you know, I don't like it. We were coming home, turning on our motion detectors that were glass detectors, movement detectors, heat sense. I mean, it was like a Fort Knox in your home. It wasn't fun anymore. So we talked about it, and it's like, we're going to take the money and run. And it wasn't a lot of money anymore. And we were going to take what we had, and prayed about it really, really hard as far as where we should go. And somehow God led us to Western North Carolina, and on the top of a mountain. Now, this is a girl that owned a cat and was not equipped to go outside and walk in nature, is what Rick would call it. So it was a huge transformation, because we built the house with what we had left. But my husband is brilliant. I mean, he is just absolutely amazing. The things that he did with this house, I'm just dying, because I'm thinking, you're going to do what? He talked about this garden. And I'm thinking, I am a straight row girl. Potatoes go here, lettuce goes here. You know, I grew up. That's what a garden is to me. And when he was talking about this garden he was going to build, it's like, oh my gosh, I am destined for I don't know what. So, in a nutshell, how Survivor Jane was born is he's talking about all this prepper stuff. Now, the world was supposed to end in 2012 with the
Yeah, I
Mayan
heard that.
calendar and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, on top of all that, I got to get prepared not to die too with all of this. So, I mean, my world was turned upside down. So I started researching online. I don't know what a bug out bag is. What are you talking about? You want me to put this thing on? And they're talking about all of these acronyms that Bob and all of these weird acronyms I didn't even understand, but I had the time to go online and I thought, I bet there are more women out there like me. They don't have a clue because guys, for some reason, Tim, can just ease into this stuff. I mean, they can pick up a hatchet and they can go out and they can hatch it, or they can pick up a whatever. They can just do it. We would sit there and figure out, okay, what end is what and how do we do it and what have you. It's not natural. You guys are the hunter gatherers. You know how to do it. We women got to learn a lot of this. And so I started researching and I thought, you know what? I want to share. So I created a website called survivorjane.com and started putting my information in people talk, just like I talk. That's how I write because I want people to understand some of these guys. And again, I'm not bashing men, but you guys know all this stuff. And so you just matter of factly just talk it. You just talk about anything and somehow you all understand that conversation. I don't. And so then I went on Twitter way, way back when, again, back in the horse and buggy days where it was still fun. And I decided I want to bring people together because I don't know who Sally Sue is with the red apron strings, or I don't know who Jimmy Joe is, or I don't know who BR89 whatever. I don't know. That doesn't tell me who you are if you're on Twitter and that's what your name is. So I created a hashtag Prepper Talk. And I encourage people that were talking about preparedness to use the hashtag Prepper Talk. And I started what I called a little community. Every evening from 6 o'clock on, I would have people using the hashtag. And if you clicked on it, it would actually make a line, a conversation. And it's almost like our chat rooms are now. And again, that was way back when. So people would come from 6 o'clock in the evening and it would continue on. I'd have to go to bed and the West Coast would pick it up. And they would just talk and it was great. And it got to where it turned into international. And people from all over the world were using Prepper Talk and they were sharing and talking and whatever. And this went on forever. I mean, I did this for probably 4 or 5 years. And that was I think I started it in 2011. And it went for a long, long time. And then as nature or as life has it, people started hijacking. And they would get in there and try to start selling things and this and that. And then politics came into it. And anybody that would talk about preparedness was an evil one instead of, trying to help people. So then during that Twitter time, National Geographic had a show called Doomsday Preppers. And they asked me, Survivor Jane, would you, along with your Prepper Talk, would you do our shows? Would you have conversations during our shows to kind of promote things and get people talking and whatever? So I did that for all of their seasons where I just, would create talk and what do you think about this? And I really wouldn't do that. And, just generating conversation. And they were saying, Nat Geo would say, couldn't you come on the show? And it was like, are you kidding me? There ain't no way I would do that. No way would I be interested in doing, because I know what you guys do. It's like, oh, no, we won't do that. We won't do that. And I said, nope, until the last season. And they're like, would you please? And I said, we have got to have some strong wording in these contracts because you have to sign a contract. It took 3 or 4 months for us to get the contract right. We had $1 million disclosure that they would not tell where we lived. not be showing firearms. We would not be showing food storages. We would show you how we live, and we would show you what we do. That's what we were interested in. We didn't want all this dog and pony show or whatever. And so
Good
we
for
finally
you.
agreed to be on Doomsday Preppers, and it was one of the better received. In fact, it's kind of like they would rate you on your preps.
Yep.
And we were the second highest rated show, under a guy that had a $7 million fortress with a room full of toilet paper. So, okay, I don't have a $7 million and I don't have a big room of toilet paper, but I have something better that we can talk about later, that will um, negate you having to have any toilet paper. So that's Survivor Jane in a nutshell. That's how people know us. As far as prepper camp goes, because we are on Doomsday Preppers, a lot of vendor, what do you call the word? The ones that put it together, the
Like sponsors and vendors.
yes,
and
yes. Well, the ones that actually did these events, they were bringing us onto their events. $5,000 people, 5,000, 10,000 convention, and they bring us in as a draw.
Sure.
Like a dog, like a monkey in a cage. Come see the monkey in the cage.
Look at that
and that's
guy.
what it was. Yeah, look at and we're not like that. We're just people.
Yeah.
We're not showy. We're not, you use the word expert and I cringe because, the only expert I can be is one that's made mistakes. That's me. I can tell you I am an expert in that. I have done it all. But I told him, I said, I guess the last draw was we're heading out to Denver and we had a big jar of peanut butter that we were going to take with us, that we'd be in the hotel room. We'd have a little snack or something just to keep our energy up because it's trying. It's long days talking to everybody, being nice to everybody. It's draining. And so the TSA?
Yes. Yes. Yep.
They took Rick's peanut butter. His
Are
brand new jar of the good stuff, not even the store brand. It was the good stuff, and they threw it away. And he's like, "That's it, no more. I'm not doing it. We're done." And it's like, why don't we do something that we would really like to go to, that we would really like, to have people learn and to walk away going, "Wow, I never knew that you could do this," and to where you could go up to the instructor and talk to them afterwards, that you could have one-on-one if you wanted to, that you're not pushed on a time schedule that you wouldn't be able to make time to go and do the things that you wanted to. And so we created this many, many moons ago, and it has just gotten bigger and better and more received, and it's all by word of mouth. A lot of people say, I've never heard of it before. And it's like, you know what? We're not about numbers. And that people shocks them. It's like, you could pack lots of people in here. And Tim, we could, but that's not what our goal is. We want everybody to make their own schedule. We want people to be able to go and have a seat at whatever demonstration or talk that they want to. We want to make sure there's room to move around. We want to make sure that you can talk to vendors, that you have room to talk to vendors, and that vendors have time to sell their wares and discuss what their wares are. And it's just, like I said, it's just been better and better and better every year. We start selling tickets in November for the next year. And then we cut it off, and that's it. And then people start whining. Oh, well, I didn't know that my dog hurt his foot and blah, 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 blah. People planned for this event, Tim. They actually will take a whole year and they will plan. And it's like, okay, I need to have this. Some will camp. Some will stay in hotels. Some, you see a car, a little putter car with their little flat camper on the back. And then you have these huge, those vehicles, those big RVs glamping. They come driving in. I'm thinking, holy moly. I mean, it's just all walks of life. And everybody is just happy and in a good mood and pleasant and will help each other. And we're all different. And yet it shows what community can actually be. And it's awesome. It's just, once you've gone, you just have to bring your wife and your family and your neighbors and everything else. And that's what happens.
There's something about getting together with like-minded folk.
Mm-hmm.
It recharges your battery, it builds you up, and you realize, hey, I'm not a freak or I'm not a loner. It's like, hey, Rick and Jane, they're like that, and Tim and everybody else, they meet us. Okay, yeah, this is cool. I do a ton of prep for these interviews, and you just busted through a bunch of my questions, which was great because you tell a good story, Jane. I like that. Thank you for sharing all that.
Well, let me share that
you go right
I'm
ahead.
up here with the old goat, as I call him. There's nobody else up here. And so when I get connected with another human being, it's just like I'm the talker, I'm the social person, and Rick's not. So when I find somebody, it's like, whoo, I got somebody I can talk and talk. And so when I get to prepper camp, I am like a water wiggle. I mean, I talk to everybody I can, the vendors, the speakers, the attendees. I just love to talk to people. And I want to share this little story and why it's so important that I do that. There was a gentleman, and at prepper camp, we have like a slope. Is a sloping hill, and it's got stairs up. Well, there was a gentleman that was a little overweight and was having a hard time going up the stairs. So he was taking one step at a time. I was just going to walk up the grass hill, and I thought, Self, you need to go over there and you need to talk to that man. So I walked over and I said, hey, I said, you want to race? And he said, oh, honey, he said, my racing days are over. And so we just small talked one step at a time till we got to the very top. Aww. And we parted our ways. And it was like, I just felt like I needed to do that. Okay, now we're going to flash forward to the next year. And I have this lady come up, and she's got a bunch of people with her. And she goes, can I talk to you for a minute? And I said, oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. She said, I just want to thank you. And I said, oh, wow. Well, there's no thanks needed. She goes, no. I want to thank you for taking your time to talk to my husband. I said, you walked with him up the stairs and took one time. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, that was last year. That was a long time ago. She goes, all he talked about was that nice lady that was running this event, took time to talk to him like he was any different than anybody else. But in his mind, he was just like so overwhelmed, just continued that she would just, I can't believe she took her time. She said he died 2 weeks later. And so as a memory, a memorial to our husband and dad, the whole family is here because we want to come where his last joy was. And it's like, wow. So listen to those little voices is what I say, because you never know. You just never know. But that's just the type of thing that happens. And I've learned, when you're told to do something, you feel like you need to do something, you need to do it because you never know.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and because you can get wore out at events like that, and you can be tired and maybe not cranky, but just your social battery could possibly be down a little, but you've only got a couple of days,
That's what it is. And I push until then. And then after prepper camp, I just drop, because I'm go, because we go on Tuesday to start setting up. And so we're there from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is vendor setup, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's a long, and there's people there. So you got to keep your energy up, and you got to, you're going to bed, a little bit later, and you're getting up at 5 o'clock to start again. So, and of course I got to paint the barn. Rick just gets up, but me, I got to get all the makeup and everything, the airbrushing and anything else. If they could put it in 55-gallon drums, I just duck my head in it, but it doesn't work. So I got to do that. So anyhow, I don't want to scare the people.
I have the same problem trying to brush my hair in the morning. Yeah. It takes me hours, just hours. So we were going to chat a bit about, I want to share a quick little story here. The other day, I shared a meme on Instagram about situational awareness for women. Mm-hmm. And because I have 4 daughters and a wife. And so I'm, anyway, and I knew as soon as I shared it, there would be one. And they come on and they're like, women shouldn't have to worry about that. Why are you putting that on there? I'm like, I understand. I know you shouldn't have to. If in a perfect world, you wouldn't. But until then, it's good to know. So I figured there'll be one on our show here today when I ask you, what are some of the, what are some of the things that sometimes women don't learn on the homestead, or things you didn't know because you came from a very, I don't want to say inner city, but urban kind of idea. So what were some things that you had to learn first, or were really hard that you hadn't learned before?
Everything was hard. I will tell you, and I have to share that because people come up to me all the time and say, "Oh, I wish I could do what you're doing."
Oh.
Wishing didn't get me here. Work got me here. I had to do everything, including when you're talking about situational awareness. I have learned to shut up, and that's hard for me, Tim. I love to talk. I love talking, but I have learned if I'm in a grocery store, my first inclination is to talk to the person in front of me about anything. Look at the gum, or, wow, those look good, or whatever. I like that, but I have learned to shut up and listen to what's happening in front of me and what's happening in back of me. And you can pick up a lot of information. Is the husband and wife, are they arguing behind you? Or is the lady running late so she's irritable in front of you? Is you're hearing stories about what's happening in their day, and you are hearing a lot. So I have learned, even though Rick might be talking to me, I am still listening to people around me to see, is there a danger? Is anybody shoving? Is anybody getting irritable? Is anybody, just that is a hard lesson, just to be quiet. And because we want to be nice to people and we want to be polite and we want to converse, but listening is a skill, Tim, and it's got to be a learned skill, and it's hard.
I'm a talker. I'm a social butterfly too. Wherever I go, I try to make conversation, and you're absolutely right. And the other thing for me is this right here. So if I'm waiting for Becky and I'm sitting in the car, a lot of times on a nice day, say I'm at Walmart, I'll roll my window down because I like that. And I'll sit there and I'll be on my phone. Well, one day this homeless lady snuck right up on me. Didn't even see her coming. And I'm supposed to know this stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have a smoke? And I'm like scared the living
it does. It does. And that shows getting into preparedness, getting into skills, getting into situational awareness is more important now than it ever has, because people are a little scared. They're nervous about the economy. They're nervous about prices, food prices going on. They're nervous about a lot of different things. And I think it's a sad time, but I've been preparing for a long, long time. And people would ask, well, what are you preparing for? I'm preparing to save my life, period.
Amen to that.
It's not necessarily an EMP. It's not necessarily a market crash. It's not necessarily a loss of job. I am preparing to survive whatever that is. People used to, especially with the doomsday prepper thing, every show had a theme. And so you had to be preparing for that. No, you prepare for one, you prepare for all. And situational awareness and defense and protection is going to be huge. It's sad, but it's going to be huge. Your neighbor that you see down the road, he's the nicest person in the world until his family doesn't have food. Then he's going to come at you, and it's going to shock you, because we all have a certain point that we're going to break. We need to do something, and desperate times will bring out desperate situations, and you need to be able to handle it. Let's say that Miss Becky was home alone. Let's say that you're gone.
Yep.
Women are going to have to be just as strong as men. Well, how do you do that, Jane? Well, you know what? I watch really not good movies sometime. I watch not monster movies, but I watch brutal movies sometime. I want to know what it looks like for a man's eyeball to be pulled out. People are like, oh my gosh, that's gross. It is gross. But you know what? That's what I'm hoping to do. I am hoping to take my thumb and pull your eyeball all the way around to the back of the head, because I can't hit you. I can hit
Right.
you and you'll look at me and you'll laugh at me. I will try to punch you, but I'm sorry. I'm a petite person. Now, that doesn't say a petite person can't defend herself. I'm just going to have to kind of go on the offensive and go ahead and get to you before you get to me. And so I have to realize I'm going to have to do some nasty things if I want to survive. People are like, oh, I couldn't do that. You're going to die. Okay. It was like the HR person saying, do you want your money? You can quit or you can die. Well, I didn't want to die. Okay. And so because of that, I made another choice. Okay. If somebody's coming at me, I have a choice. Is this it? This is how I'm going to die, or am I going to fight like heck and do the best I can? Women are going to have to man up, and you have to. And
Sure.
I was talking. Thankfully, I was raised as daddy's little girl. And I
Ah,
was raised helping him to hold the solder gun or hold the two pieces so he could solder. And I watched how he cut and I watched how he did different things. So I have common sense to be able to do things. Rick was gone and hurricane season was coming. I went across the street to Lowe's. I got me some plywood. I slapped those sawhorses out, and I got that circular saw and I measured where I needed to cut, and I'm cutting along, and all of a sudden I hit it. I thought what it was a knuckle. So I thought, oh, I don't have time. I got to get these things up. So I'm sawing along. I thought I hit a knot
like
in
a
the
knot.
wood.
Yep.
So I just, with all my might, I was like, and then smooth as butter, and little piece of the sawhorse fell off. So what I had done was I sawed the end of the sawhorse off. It wasn't a knot. It wasn't a knuckle. But I did it, and we just got another sawhorse later on. But you can do things. It might not be like the man does it, but a woman with just common sense, you can do things. I just think that people, especially women, think, oh, that's the husband's job. Absolutely not. What if the husband's not there and you need to get things done? You got to get out there. My dashboard, I have a 1998. I call it my brand new 1998 Toyota Camry because everything on it I've replaced. But the dashboard lights were out.
Mm.
So Rick's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to change the lights in the dashboard. And he's like, well, you don't just pull them out. I said, no, I went online to see how to do it. I pulled that whole dash off that car and I switched all those lights out and looked online to find out what light bulbs are supposed to be in there. I was so proud of myself because I could have taken it to a dealership and
Sure.
probably spent a bagillions of dollars that I didn't have. And, it's that sense of just an accomplishment that,
Yeah.
what, that just shows it doesn't matter who does it. You just have to have the common sense to look, to research, and you can't do it any better than me because you have to do the same steps. You might be able to pull it all out in one piece because you're bigger than I am, or something. You might have the strength over me, but the bottom line is there's nothing that says a woman can't do things that need to be done also. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's up here with Rick and I. It's a team effort.
Sure.
He can't do it all. There's no way he can do it all. One person cannot do it. It is a team effort, and we've got to pick up each other's slack, and that's what we do up here.
Well, so when I was prepping up for this, of course, I mentioned my wife. She's gone. She's been gone for 2 days. Her and her sister went for a trip to Vegas, which is great. But it got me thinking about the roles that we so quickly slide into. For instance, I'm the driver just because I love to drive. So if we do a 30-hour drive, I do it all. Last night, she drove from Vegas to Los Angeles after dark, all by herself. Not but also for me, she normally handles a lot of the financial bill end of things, right? We just slide into those roles. But, and I wanted to bring this comment up. Sugar Creek said, I wanted things set up here in a way that I can do things myself. You never know when you have to do them. And that's what I got thinking about. I mean, whether it's a sickness or you just get injured or they're away. Do you, I know you said you guys are a team, but I'm sure there's certain roles that one does a little more often than the other. Do you try to make sure you know a little bit of everything?
There's no way I could compete with Rick. I mean, he's just like way up there. He's just so intelligent. He is such an observer.
Mm-hmm.
He was a marketer and
Right.
creative. I mean, there's just no way I could compete as far as that goes. Um, but yes, there are things that slide in. Prepper camp, I would have to say, is 99% him. I mean, he is just a mastermind with it. Me, I come into organizing the buckets because I'm a good organizer. I'm a good packer. I'm a good, so I can do those things. If he did it, it would all be thrown in there. And then it's like, where's this? He knows he could say, in fact, he gets upset because I am the organizer and I put everything so that it has a place. And then all of a sudden, it's like, where's this? Where's that? Because I'm an organizer. I like things neat and tidy and put away. And so he has to come to me because as his guy way, it's just, well, this is an empty space on the shelf. I'm going to put it here. He doesn't just leave things laying around. He just doesn't put them where I would put them. Well, don't you know all the pet supplies and animal supplies go in this area? They don't go over here with the hammers. And, so that's where we balance each other out as far as that goes. To compete with his creativity, no way. But as far as chores and as far as, I mean, I can flip an animal just as fast as he can to help birth them if they're they're in distress, and I can do all of those things. But again, back at prepper camp again, that would be him. At daily things, we all have to kind of know the same things and be able to do the same things. And that was hard for me because that's natural for him. What do you mean I have to step and poop and go over there? What do you mean I have to shovel this stuff?
Sure.
What do you mean I have to put my hand in there to pull something out? I mean, it's like you've got to learn how to do those things. And it's shocking at first, but that's where when people say they wish they could live like me, do you really? Are you really willing to do all these things that are not pleasant?
What are some I saw you guys build a chicken coop that used an old truck topper, I believe it was. And
Yes,
then I
it
seen
was.
the other day I wasn't even sure what you were making of. They were feed bags that I think you're rolling the sides over and stitching them down, or grow bags were you turning them into?
For peanuts. I was
Yeah.
growing peanuts. Yeah.
So
Yep.
what do you because and of course you guys live on the top of a mountain, you're in North
Mhm.
Carolina, and kind of reminds me of the old time farmers. They'd never go to town because
Yep.
they had to make do with what they had.
They're treasures. We don't. I have what's called a boneyard, and I've taken
Oh,
old
yes.
pallets and I've made a pallet floor, and then I made pallet walls, and I have buckets, and I have welded wire, and I have parts of broken chicken feeders, or what. Anything and everything. I keep it because we have had things that don't have anything to do with anything, but they fit perfect for what your need is. I mean, I took an old it was like a plastic yard container that you would put maybe your trash cans in or something, and one of the doors fell off. It broke so that it wouldn't fit anymore. I just kept it, and then we took it, and I think Rick used one of those for the water baffling system when he created the pond and the water system. I mean, it's just you just use things. We needed water to go over something, and that was a perfect size little piece of plastic that we could use. I mean, we reuse everything, and we just put it in the boneyard. And it's like, do you have a piece of this, or do you know where I could get a this, or do you have and we just go to the boneyard and just grab what we need, and it's all again, organized in a way where all the buckets are stacked and all the things, feeders are all in one area. So one man's junk is another man's treasure in our home.
I mean, I talked to a guy the other day, he's in his 80s, and he said he remembers having to pull nails out of his boards at his farm to reuse them, straighten up rusty nails. My dad used to cut up old tractor tires, or not vehicle tires that had worn out, and they'd cut patches of rubber and turn them into hinges for gates.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I call them zero jobs. It's the jobs I can do on the weekend that I don't have to go to the hardware store to buy anything.
And we need to really start getting back into that, Tim. I mean, we were in a position where when you're pricing out things anymore, I mean, it is through the roof. And it's like, okay, what can we use here? Like you said, the rubber. Lots of people have a tire or two sitting, if they're in the rural area, that's just your lawn borders or ornaments. Okay. And I mean, you have to think out of the box. What can I use? But we are a consumer, and I am a recovered consumer. Okay. I can't go buy anymore. I don't have the money. And that was the best thing that could have happened to us, is not have money. Because it forced us to have to be creative. It forced us. Right now, people are still, they still have a couple dollars, and they're leaning on buying. That's not what preparedness is. Preparedness is using your head, thinking outside of the box, and thinking, how can this be turned into this, or what can I do as an alternative to get something done?
I like that. Yeah, I've said a few times, abject poverty is a great motivator.
Yeah.
Because you have to find a solution. And people ask me, well, how did you become so handy? Well, because my wife and I were poor for the better part of a decade, and not just poor, but broke poor. And I had to learn how to do everything myself. What are so when you're working around, everybody has a favorite tool or a few favorite tools, but what are some of the things you use most often that you kind of enjoy using, or you like to learn how to do?
That's a hard one. That is a hard one.
I mean, I got my favorite hammer that when I lost it for 6 months until my brother-in-law found it under the hood of my dump truck, I was a very happy camper. Favorite shovel. Are you?
Well, I will tell you.
Yes.
I will tell you what I got for my birthday.
Oh, I'd like to hear that.
Yes, I know you would like to. The women would probably be horrified. Rick has got these lineman pliers.
Yeah.
They are heavy duty and they're nice, and I might not use them for exactly what they're supposed to be used for, but I like them because they have a nice grip. And so I would always sneak into his tool chest and get them until he put them in his tool bag. He's got a side-by-side, and he has a tool bag that and it was like, I would panic. It's like, where are those pliers at? He goes, what are you talking about? And I said, those pliers, those really nice pliers. So he got me my own set of lineman's pliers. He said he wanted to get them in pink, but he couldn't find them in pink. So I took a marker and I wrote mine on it. So whenever he sees it, I'll say, hey, those are mine. So I got my own lineman pair that I can keep and have for my own. People are like, oh, that's a horrible gift. No, it's not, because I used his all the time for stuff. All the time I was grabbing them. And like I said, I probably wasn't using them for the correct way that men folks would use that for. But if I couldn't get a bolt off, if I couldn't get something on, if I needed to, it's got a great cut thing too. So it cut zip ties, and I just liked it. Yes. So I would have to say that would be my favorite, because I use that all the time for anything. I'm always carrying it and having, so I can use it for whatever.
I can't remember. I don't know if Rick mentioned this or if I seen it on one of your guys' YouTube videos, but what was I don't even remember what you call it, the homemade bidet or the.
Yes. Yeah, and so when I told you about that, people were talking about, that the $7 million home with all these toilet paper. Well, yeah. Tim, I was out in the garden. I have a beautiful greenhouse, and I was out there taking a garden sprayer, just little gallon one. So it wasn't so heavy, had water in it. And I was just kind of spraying things that I couldn't reach. And I looked at the nozzle and I thought, this has got a really fine mist, but then I could just adjust it and it would be like this power blaster. I said, I bet I could make like a survival bidet. So I snuck upstairs while Rick was doing something else and I tried to use it. I splashed it all over the back of the water was everywhere. And it's like, well, that didn't work. That wasn't even close to the target I was trying to hit. So I thought, no, I can't be defeated. I can't. I've got to shorten. I got to shorten the wand. So I cut some piece and I boiled some water and I took the edge and I kind of just curved it just a little bit. Then I used it and it was like, this is great. Because then I could do a nice summer mist if I needed to for the girls. And then for Rick, a full-on power blaster if he needed it. So at first I showed Rick and he was like, do what? I said, honey, instead of toilet paper, this is all you need. You just need to be clean, right? You could just take a hand towel to dry yourself off. He has not been without it since. We don't use toilet paper. We use a hiney hydrant. That's what I call it. Go to Walmart it used to be $8.87. Now it's $9.97 and buy you a gallon garden that you pump up. So it's got the pressure and it's lasted forever. And he brings it to prepper camp with him. He does not go anywhere. And the neat thing about it is when it doesn't have any water in it, it's light. You could actually, if you had to leave your home, it's so light you could hook on your go bag and you wouldn't, or put it in your car and you could put water in it and use it for a shower. You could use it as an emergency shower or toilet paper thing. I'd be the type, Tim, if I had to rely on leaves, I'd be the poison ivy girl. And then I'd have bigger mess than I would if I didn't have toilet paper. So I share this all the time. I've got people walk up to me every year at prepper camp. I made it. I got it. I'm so, everybody has their hiney hydrants because it's so simple, so smart, and just a bottle of water, 16-ounce bottle of water could take care of the whole family, So it's just the cheapest thing. Why go buy an expensive bidet that you have to use so much water when all you need is to have this thing sitting right by your toilet and it does the job. Like I said, for somebody that didn't think he would even go for it, he does not go any place without his hiney hydrant. It's just if we're on the road or something. It's just, yeah. People say, Jane, why don't you market that thing and why don't you sell it? I said, you're talking about less than $10. I think you can go and do this yourself. Just cut the wand, take about 6 inches off of it, and then kind of just put a curve in the remaining, put it back in the connector and you're set. And for $10, come on, you can't even buy toilet paper for that anymore.
You've built, like, I love seeing the little gadgets and things, but like you said, you came kind of from an area where you weren't, I don't want to say you weren't independent, but you weren't hands-on or doing a lot of this stuff. And then, I'm sure there's a ton of other women out there who do the same thing or are coming from that and they want to get into it. And of course, the biggest thing is, I don't want to say lack of confidence, but once you get that first step under your belt, it's a little easier. Is there anything that you're the most proud of or something you remember doing early on that you're like, oh, I can do this?
Oh gosh, I've done a lot in these years. So, oh dear, that's everything is amazing because I didn't cook.
Right.
So I had that on top of it. Then you have the garden and the harvest and you've got the animals. And I would have to say, honestly, not in a tool way, but the first time that I actually had to go in and assist a birth of one of our goats.
Okay.
Because we called the people that we bought them. We told them this goat, mama goat, is in distress. And she said, well, it's going to die. If you don't get the baby out, it's gone too long. It's going to die. And so Rick gets off the phone. And you know how the old joke is, they say it's going to die. It's like, unless you go in there. Well, Rick was like, I'm not doing that. It's like, well, I'm not doing it. There's no way I'm going to put my hand inside some goat's body. And, when the emergency comes, you do it.
Right.
And when the baby is born and the mama's okay, it's like, holy moly, what did I just do? If I was told I had to do it, there's no way. But you are an amazing machine, and you can do more than you ever realize that you can do. You just have to do it. Can't think about it, can't ponder it, you have just got to be proactive and just do it. And we were like, wow, what did we just do? And so I would have to say that's life, and life is just amazing. And walking through all that poop and doing all that yucky stuff that I have to do, that part is just all worth it. And so many people put too many limitations. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, there's no way I could do that. Oh, I wouldn't do that. And you know what I say? It's choices. I want to survive. I
Right.
want my animals to survive. And my animals give me milk. And my animals give me eggs. And my animals give me meat. So I want to make sure that they are okay too. And I have to do things that are gross. I have to do things that a lady probably wouldn't have to do. My fingernails are not manicured and polished and buffed like they used to be. They're not that way anymore. They are working hands, and that's the way it is because I want to survive. I don't want to lose my girldom. I still want to be a
Sure.
girl. Rick likes me to still look like a girl, and I try to look like a girl as much as I can. The goats don't care, but the old goat does. But besides that, don't put those limitations on yourself, because when you start doing that, that's when your plan is only as strong as you are. And if you're not willing to do things, then you're going to have some buckles in that plan. You're going to have some ripples that your foundation is not going to be as strong and sturdy as what it needs to be if you're putting limitations on what you will or won't do, because you don't know.
Do you think, I'm thinking back, what do you think that, 2007, 2008 corporate Jane would have thought about the idea of having yourself shoulder deep into a goat?
There is no way. You know what? Like I said, I didn't even cook. I didn't even have the mentality that we always went to eat out.
Sure.
When we get home in the evening time, we were both tired. It's like, what do you want? We had restaurants all around us. So do we want Chinese? Do we want Italian? Do we want pizza? Do we want burgers? Do we want, that was the biggest decision we would make in food. I mean, it was not, I always thought the kitchen was just a passway that from the garage into the main house. I mean, it was like, or to heat up my coffee in the microwave. It was just, it wasn't there. So I've had to learn to can, to preserve,
Yes.
to pressure can and water bath can and to this and this and that. I've had to learn all of this stuff. Do I do it? I probably do it more the gospel according to Survivor Jane than I do some of the U.S.A. blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's just
Alphabet
like,
group.
and I might call things different than what other people do. But you know what? Don't get so caught up in the details. Just focus on the job itself. And getting back to it, it's the limitations that people put. Me as a girly girl, I'm still a girly girl. I mean, that's who I am. I don't want to lose that, and I work hard so that I don't lose it because it's too easy not to. I mean, the goats don't care if I have makeup on. The goats don't care if I'm big or little or whatever. I do. I take pride in my appearance, and I take pride in myself for me and for my husband. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't have anything to do with survival,
Lots of things don't.
But you don't have to. You don't have to give your girldom away in order to prepare. You just have to be willing to do things that you've never done before, or you might not want to do.
Well, you wrote the literal book on what, post-apocalyptic cosmetics, didn't you?
I did. You know why? Because I couldn't go to the store anymore. I mean, I spent weekends going to the cosmetic counters and the perfume and what have you, and I didn't have the money. We had what was left after paying the penalties and the taxes and everything. We didn't have but two dimes to rub together to build this house and to build a homestead. And you learn how to economize. That didn't mean going and buying new eyeshadow. That didn't mean getting the new lipstick color. It didn't mean, and that drove me crazy. So I started researching how these things were made and learn that a lot of the things you can make with food pantry stuff that you have and nature, berries and what have you. You
Cool.
can make these things. And I thought, wow. I mean, I'm researching, writing things down, researching and writing these down. And I thought, you know what? I bet other people would like to know that if there was an emergency survival situation, how do you make shampoo? How do you make deodorant? How do you make out of things that you have in your pantry? So I actually created the book Emergency Survival. It's a cookbook of just things that you need as far as hygiene. And again, women care about those things a lot. And so I thought, gee, to take that little bit of pressure away, or for the head of the family, daddy, what are we going to do? We don't have any shampoo now. You can't go to the store anymore. How are we going to make our shampoo? How are we going to make our soaps? How are we going to make our deodorant? How are we going to make our toothpaste? How are we going to make whatever it is? And yeah, I even put in a little bit about how to make some eyeshadows and lipsticks if you still need it to. But that was important to me that I share that you don't have to give up that girl thing if you don't have to. Even if you don't have money, you don't have to give that part up.
That's cool. I like that. I hadn't seen a book quite like that before, and I'm going to add that to my library just simply because.
I highly suggest that, especially in these days. I think everybody needs to know that you've got to have some resources. And that book was made as a survival library resource book so that you would have it. A lot of us don't have time to sit down and read all the books that we have, but there's going to come a point in time where we're going to have to start pulling them out and saying, gee, how do I do this? Or what do I do about that? The fictional books, they're fun and they're scary and they're neat. They can kind of tell you how to do things, but you really need to focus on those skill books and how-to books.
Are you going to have any of your books for sale at Prepper Camp or no?
I am. I also wrote a book where there are what could possibly go wrong.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't realize there are a lot of things that can go wrong. A lot of things. And so I wrote a little chapter on all the different things that could go wrong in life. And again, I do it in girl talk or people talk so that you can kind of understand. And then I have one more, and this is a special one to me. It's puzzling over preparedness.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yes, my mother, cool. She went to the doctors with my dad, and she would sit there and do the puzzle books while he was in the doctors or, appointments, dentist appointments or whatever. She would pull out and do a puzzle books and always had her puzzle books. Well, my parents lived in Western North Carolina also. And so I got to see them more than I ever had living in Central Florida. I'd see them on holidays. So I got I think about 10 good months of seeing them. And one odd day, they were on their way out, both of them, and a quarter mile away from their house, somebody ran a stop sign and killed them both instantly.
Oh my.
And I mean, it was like instantly. When people say that accidents happen 5 miles from your home or whatever, the guy was going, I think he was going maybe 90 miles an hour, hit the side of my dad's car, T-poned it and put it into a telephone pole and killed my mother instantly. The neat part about it was they had a bond where it was good that they both left at the same time. It's a blessing. It really was. And so as a little memorial, if you will, I thought, you know what? These books are really fun. What if I could take and turn a preparedness theme into a book like this. And so that way, if somebody's not really on board, somehow they're subliminally learning about preparedness by finding the words, the bug out bag, what things go in a bug out bag. So I have little pre-made lists that are actually puzzles, and so there's 100 different puzzles in the book that they can actually enjoy and learn at the same time. So that's just a little, like I said, a little memorial to my mom and something fun that you could give as a gift to a non-prepper or somebody that's not quite sure, or that somebody that wants to have a ready-made list of what you need in your pantry, what you need to put in a go bag, what you need, as far as different situations and different disasters that would happen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Do you got about 10 more minutes to talk
Absolutely.
about what's coming up at Prepper Camp?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Cool. Because I wanted to get that in before we finish.
Sure. Yeah.
So first off, when is it? I know, but
well, I hope that I do. I think that it's September 23rd through the 25th. And that would be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a one admission all 3 days.
Mhm.
So you come in and you could leave and come back and whatever. Or some people just pay the admission and they can only come for 1 day. But we actually price the event so that's easy, that anybody that plans, and we're hoping that you're doing this as a plan. This is not what I call a tire kicker event. We do not advertise locally. We don't want people to come out because, what do you want to do this weekend? Well, it looks like there's a prepper camp thing going on. Let's go there.
Right.
We only are looking for serious people. And a lot of times, and these people come from all over the nation. I mean, they're coming from Washington, coming from Canada. They're coming from different places all over the place. And they make a serious commitment to do this, because it's not just their admission. It's actually, they have to plan for food. They have to plan for lodging. They have to plan for other things. And sometimes it's only the pillar of the community that goes and then brings back all this information and shares with them and gathers up as much information as they can. Sometimes we have got people that are just starting their journey in preparedness, and we have people that we would call seasoned people that, they're well on their way. But Tim, nobody is prepared. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you have. Nobody is prepared for anything and everything. You just have to do the best you can and focus on it. And that's the speakers that we bring in. We don't want somebody that's talking so far over your head that you can't go up to them afterwards or her afterwards and say, what did you mean by this? And then bring it down a little bit more into a layman's terms. We don't want prima donnas. We don't want hawkers. We don't want people up there selling their wares. We're not looking for that. You can go to the vendor area and buy their wares. So when you go to a class, you're going to learn what that class title was about, and be able to ask questions afterwards or before or later on in the week. You can plan your own schedule. We've seen events where you go and you have to sign up for what class you want to go to, or you have to pay a different fee if you want to go to see that demonstration. We don't do something like that. We wouldn't want to do that. We want to be able to look at the schedule and say, okay, I want to go to this class, then I want to go to that class, and I want to do that. So when people show up, they are serious. They've got their schedules marked, who's going where. Sometimes husband goes to this class, wife goes to this, the teen goes to that. I mean, they are serious about what classes. There's 64 classes. That's 8 classes an hour, 8 hours a day. So you know what? If you can't find something there, you're not really serious about prepping, because there's anything from the advanced to the beginners to the media. We've just got anything and everything, and we try to bring in new classes every year. Then we have some that the people go, oh no, we want to go back and see him again or see her again. So we have the what we call the old standbys. We always invite them. If they don't want to come, that's fine. We move on. But we try to make it high energy. And if it rains, it rains. You know what? Disaster knows no time. Disaster knows no weather. So if it rains, it rains. We've been lucky enough that, we've had great events. We've literally seen dark clouds go around the event and then wait until Sunday afternoon and just open up. I mean, we've been blessed like that, but you're not going to find negativity there. You're going to find that you can sit there on a bench and you can talk to somebody from across the nation, and it feels good to be able to talk to like-minded people, not be guarded. Tim, we don't have media. We have media show up all the time. We have media try to sneak in. So
Really?
we do have security, and we do have people that say no media. No media allowed. We don't want it. We've tried it before, and when you read the Atlantic came
Yeah.
out, and the Atlantic had a field day, and sometimes you could tell by the name of somebody on the ticket roster as far as who they are or whatever, and we'll try to vet them before. And
Yep.
we've literally contacted them and said, I see you bought a ticket. Unfortunately, we're going to give you your money back because we do not want media. Oh, no, I'm just here. I just want to learn. I'm just interested. And it's like, unfortunately, because of your ties, we just can't trust it. We want our attendees to be comfortable. And
For
so
you.
we do not allow at all any media.
Anything you're particularly excited about with this year's version of Prepper Camp?
We've got some good music. We have been blessed with 5 times August. If anybody knows of Brad, he was actually on I think it was the Capitol or the Monument stairs. He actually did some songs, um, great songs about Fauci and things that are in your arm that go in there that we're not interested in putting in our arm or our body. And so he's going to be fun. He does parody songs, and so we're really excited about that. Got some great demonstration work that we're going to be having vendors and speakers do. Um, yeah, let
Have
me see.
have you announced the keynote speaker yet? Or
No, actually, he's still kind of,
up in the air?
yes, it is.
Uh-oh. That's
We're
okay.
thinking about maybe having Justin Trudeau. I mean, I don't know if that's a good suggestion or not.
I mean, to each your own. If I'm not sure he would really meet our community.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I mean, we've got Saturday night is what we call our fun night. We have a guest speaker that will come in, and we're trying to lock them down
Mhm.
and get them to hold still so we can lock them down. But we actually do
Tough.
we do some gift giveaways. We do some trivia questions. We got the music going, and it's just one where everybody comes together. We're going to have movies Friday night. We're going to have 2,000 Mules. Then we're
Oh
going to
yeah.
have then we're going to have Rigged. Then we're going to have we might even have what Rick and Jane's lifestyle is. I think is that on Saturday afternoon? Saturday afternoon, we'll actually have an hour documentary of how Rick and I live. And that has been really, really well received. So it gives you a feel for what our day to day is. We've got that on Saturday afternoon during lunchtime. So it's packed. It's just a packed weekend. You will leave exhausted and can hardly wait, like you want it to happen again next weekend. And we cry and we say, no, 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 give us a year to get it back together again.
My biggest, whenever I go to events, I always want to go to the presentation. Like, I've looked at the list and I'm like, oh, there's this many. And my problem, not problem, but what I end up doing is I usually end up sitting around talking to people the
Yeah.
entire event. That's just what happens.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I have gone to one class yet. I started to last year, and
Yep.
I sat down, and then another fire needed to go be pulled out. I needed to do some amplifier stuff or whatever, go fix somebody's speaker. So I got up, and it was like, doggone it, after all these years, I almost was able to sit down in a class. I've yet to go to one that was like, oh, that's a good one. Oh, I want to go there. Oh, but there's just so much talking to all these people, and just enjoying the event. I would love to go to this event. I really would love to go to this event.
Maybe one year.
Maybe.
Well, Jane, I got to say thank you. This was, you must have been, you were quite possibly the easiest interview I've ever done. You
Wow.
took care of it for me. So thank you.
Wow.
I love
That's
it.
because one social butterfly to another.
So true. Thank you. I know. Maybe a few months down the road, I'd love to have you and Rick on again, maybe, or we'd try something
We'd love
different.
to.
I would love
We'd
that.
love any topics that you have women listeners or men listeners, because people would think that only my followers were women. Well, that's not true. There are men that are starting out, but they're embarrassed that they don't necessarily know the men's lingo or whatever.
Sure.
And so they have learned just through my people talk how to understand what's going on and what you mean by that or whatever. And that's really been important. Education has just been so important to Rick and I. We really like to shy away from the expert. People love to have that thing. Yeah, they're an expert in this and this and that. You know what? We're not showboaters, and we don't want our speakers to be showboaters. We want you to have a heart for education and to teach people and to understand that you know things are closing in on us, Tim, and we've got to pick up, and we got to pick up our skills. We got to pick up our pace as far as preparedness. So I thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this. When I heard that Rick was on and he was talking, it was like, well, I can talk too. I know how to talk. And so, when you reached out, it was like, absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, I do live it. I live my lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm not just sitting around. And so it was a hit or miss with you and I getting on here. But thank you so much for taking your time to share what knowledge I have with your viewers and your followers, to understand that if I can do it, this girly girl can do it, then you can do it too. You just have to do it. You can't wish. You can't wish to do it. You have to do it.
And if people want to follow up with you, what's the easiest way to find you, Jane?
I'm on all social media, Survivor Jane. It's real easy, just the two.
Yep.
So, wherever you can reach out. I have a website, survivorjane.com, and then I'm on Twitter, I'm on Getter, I'm on all those things, social media things. So if you did want to reach out to me, feel free to just reach out and ask a question or whatever. That's what I'm all about that.
Well, thank you, Jane. If you want to hang for just 30 seconds, I'm going to close up and I'll be right back with you real quick here. Thank you. Guys, that was incredible. One social butterfly to another. I appreciate Jane coming on. Thank you so much for that. And I hope you guys took something from this. And please share this with both the women and the men in your life, because she has so much truth to share. So anyway, I thank her one more time. And guys, you know it. As always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.